And welcome back to Flip That Script. I'm Dana,
And I'm Holly.
and today we're talking about something that's been silenced, softened, and swallowed for far too long, your voice. The part of you that speaks up, sets boundaries, and asks for what it needs. The part that shouldn't. You shouldn't have to apologize for existing because so many of us were taught to shrink and to be small and to play a supporting role in someone else's life while our own voice just faded into a whisper. But guess what? We're not playing that role anymore. And in this episode, this is your permission slip to speak like you belong there, like you belong here, like you belong anywhere you walk into, not just in the room, not just in the conversation, but in your life. So,
Exactly. And it isn't just about volume, the tone of your voice or the level. It's about validity. It's about believing that you have that right to speak, even if your voice shakes, because your voice is not a luxury, it's a lifeline. It is the very core of who you are. And as women, even we're conditioned to be agreeable, don't interrupt, keep the peace, smile even when you're uncomfortable, and don't be too loud, intense, too emotional, too smart, too ambitious. I mean, even our inner critic often isn't ours, it's internalized words that are not our own.
exactly. And if no one else is going to speak up for you if you can't speak up for yourself. That's one thing in my life that I've learned. Even though I know, with society conditioned, especially women, girls, to be praised for being quiet and polite and really just easy to manage, as if we needed to be
Yes.
managed.
I mean, the root of silence is often planted so early in childhood. Don't talk back. You're too loud. Be a good girl. That's not nice to say. Little girls should be seen and not heard. Even the stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah,
And when you hear those things growing up, I mean, what the subconscious does is that it begins to program, if I speak up, I'll be punished. If I share my truth, I'll be rejected. If I have needs, I could lose love. If I say no, I could be abandoned. So speaking up requires you to feel safe. But if your body has never ever learned that it's safe, silence can become your survival tool.
exactly. One thing I know is that we were raised to think that being liked was more important than being heard. So we started to be quiet. It's all due to cultural expectations, really the good girl, the helper, the supporter, not the center. You're not the center of attention. You don't want to be in the center of attention because that person's talked badly of. So you want to stay off to the sidelines and not make yourself be seen or heard or anything like that. 'Cause you don't want to be called bossy or aggressive or emotional or too much. Really, all of that is just a woman asserting herself. And
Right.
like you said, it could be trauma responses as well. Silence is safety. Disassociation. You just to appease somebody else.
I also believe that it teaches you not only is it more important to be liked than to speak up, but that you won't be liked if you speak up, that you
Exactly.
can't be yourself and be liked and be a part of the group you want to be. And that's what's so sad. I mean, women who speak up are often called aggressive, difficult, emotional, and too much. We know that. We're more praised for being so polite and supportive and selfless, but punished for being bold or outspoken when this very same practice within our male counterparts is praised. Society teaches us to be small and then mocks us for not being confident because we lose that confidence to speak up. We don't want to feel the rejection, the humiliation, the conflict, or being misunderstood, even. And sometimes it comes down to feeling as if you could lose a job, a relationship, or your sense of belonging within a group if you actually speak up and speak your truth. And no one should feel that way. Not one of us should feel like we can't say our truth. We have to really flip that script to know that people who really love us, are in sacred relationships with us, are going to accept us just the way we are.
And we talk about finding our voice like it's something that we lost. But really, most of us just never had the permission to use it in the first place. We were trained to edit ourselves, quiet ourselves, to make our words softer, smaller, more digestible to everyone but ourselves. So then we choked on it. We choked on the words that we wanted to say, and we were told to speak when spoken to. Don't interrupt and don't be assertive.
Yes. And even sometimes our friends and our colleagues, when we start expressing to them that we really want to speak up and say something, you know, in all the good intentions in the world, they will say things like, remember that one time you stood up for yourself and they ghosted you? Or remember when you said how you felt and they made fun of you? So don't you think it's better to stay quiet than to risk that again? And I just think at this point in our lives, in society, there is nothing more empowering than just to speak up. Speak up
Right.
and say what you feel. You have the right to do that. It doesn't make you less than. It doesn't mean that you don't know what you're talking about. People may say that. Those internalized self doubt and shame things that we carry within us that also silence us ourselves. Maybe I don't know enough to speak about this. Am I being dramatic? Because as a woman, we are often told, stop being dramatic, when really we are not being dramatic. We are passionately speaking our truth. Or maybe what I'm feeling isn't that important. And we really need to conquer and overcome and become comfortable with taking up that space as who you are. Those type of things are learned minimization. You've been taught to second guess your worth, your wisdom, and your right to your voice. And as Dana
Right.
said, you never lost your voice. It's still there. You were just taught not to use it.
And I don't know how many times in my life that I've been told that I'm too loud for real. Like when I get into a conversation and it's something that I'm passionate about, and you sparked this in me today. It's something that I'm passionate about. I really like I'm into this discussion. My voice will get louder as I speak, and it's not something that I can flip on and off. It just happens. But I'm constantly told, so now when I'm in a conversation and I'm getting excited about it, I'm thinking, wait, am I too loud? Am I too loud? Calm down. And I know that's really not what we're talking about, but it kind of is.
It really is,
It's
because
a
the tone of your voice you're even judged for as a woman.
Yeah,
What tone are you using? You said that a little loud. Are you angry?
right. And we internalize that, and then we just make ourselves easy to ignore. But silence isn't peace. It's more of a
No.
pressure. And the longer that you hold your truth in or keep your voice quiet, the more it builds, and eventually that pressure leaks out and as anxiety, people pleasing, resentment, even physical pain, like we talked about with the body syndromes.
Yes.
And
I mean, one of the deepest wounds is expressing your truth and then being dismissed. It's when you do speak and then aren't heard, being interrupted, talked over, or ignored, or people only hearing what they want to hear, or acting as if they didn't hear you at all, or being made to explain your emotion or prove your pain. So when those type of things happen over time, we stop speaking, not because we have nothing to say, but because we might believe that no one is really listening to us. And that's a very sad fact when you feel like every time you do speak, you're talked over, ignored, looked over. And a lot of people can make you feel like that was the stupidest thing you could say when every opinion is valued. Everyone's truth is valid.
yes, and I find that it's women as they get older, they start becoming quieter. Mo Not all. There's some, but it seems like it's the condition just like they give up. I notice I used to drive school bus. And them girls, they speak out. Most of them. They don't have the same quiet tendencies that an older woman would. I don't know if you find that the same.
I can definitely see where that is true. Perhaps the woman who has been told so often, and even perhaps by their significant other, their spouse, or the people around them to be quiet, tone it down, not say anything, could become very conditioned and become quieter and quieter. But I will say on the flip side of that, the most powerful thing is to watch a woman in her 40s, 50s, even 60s learn how to speak up and use her voice. And her voice is so powerful at that point because she has so much wisdom, so much knowledge, so many years lived, and so many choked on words that she did not say. But like Dana says, a lot of women as they get older just stop trying to speak up and out, even to their own spouse, even to their own adult children, perhaps, and even to their friends. They just become complacent and compliant and keep their thoughts to themselves. And that's not a way to live. I
No.
mean, as Dana mentioned, body syndromes or earlier, what happens when we don't speak up? We fall into chronic people pleasing, swallowed opinions, tight throats, jaw tension, TMJ, thyroid issues. I mean, you can actually have a loss of self identity, confusing being nice with being numb.
And
And in comes the regret, the resentment, and the shrinking. When you don't speak your truth, your body is going to eventually speak for you.
yes, it will. Yes, it will. And it's not quiet. So if you're not going to yell it out, your body will. And it can also cause weight gain. There's a lot to say with the weight gain. You swallow it so many times and you don't feel it's because you don't feel safe. So we have to say to ourselves, we have to tell the world, tell your nervous system, I am safe, I'm real, I belong here. And what I have to say matters.
Yes.
What I have to say matters. My opinions matter. And you know what? I don't care and I get loud.
Right. I mean, what does it mean to take up space? It's not a physical term, really. It's energetic. I mean, taking up space can simply mean saying no without apology, asking questions without thinking you're a burden, your ideas in the room, even if your voice shakes. Knowing silence can be sacred, not having that silence rooted in fear. You're allowed to be the loudest person in the room and the most grounded at the same time.
Yeah, and take up space without really saying a lot. You can take up your space even if you're just listening and finding that perfect time to say the perfect thing. You don't have to be the loudest in the room to take that space up or to be heard, as long as you're not
Yes,
silenced. There's a difference between just quietly observing or being silenced.
exactly. If you ever feel, I think a cue would be if you ever feel like you want to say something and can't, that's being silenced. If you ever think, what if they think I'm difficult? You're silencing yourself. Or even if you think, what if I cry and lose credibility? You're silencing yourself. What if they don't like me anymore? You are silencing yourself. So reframe those one at a time. What if your voice is the one voice that sets someone else free, that helps them, that empowers them, that gives them the ability to speak up?
Makes it
All of
easier.
our voices are valuable. Collectively, that is so powerful. And if you're in a room full of people that echo every fear you have when you do speak up, it may be time to change rooms of people because they don't see a value in you at all if they cannot respect your truth, your opinions, and your voice.
Right. And you know, another thing, when you swallow your voice, swallow what you want to say, you swallow, there's resentment. And then eventually, honestly, there's a loss of identity. You forget what you want, what you think, or what you need because other people have taken that over and told you what you want, what you think, and what you need. And then you
Right.
lose yourself in that. So if you're at least speak up for the inner child in you, the inner someone needs to.
Yes.
And if no one
Yeah.
else had, be the one to do it.
I
When the
mean,
voice is
reclaiming,
changed, the body just will scream, and inside the body screaming, that's your inner child screaming. Let me speak. Let me be free. I want to be who I am.
I think it's so important to allow that inner child to come forth and reframe the scenarios of when you were taught not to speak. I've always taught my children, you can say anything you want to me as long as it's respectful. If I tell you to go do something, don't tell me no, but say that it doesn't mean I'm not going to make you do it. But if you have an opinion about it, you can say, I'm really tired. I don't feel like doing that right now. Or why am I the one who has to do it? Because I'm going to answer your questions. But I want you to feel comfortable and free enough to speak up and voice what you're thinking. Now, many of us did not have that as children. And so we do have to go back and reparent our own inner child. And reclaiming your voice with hypnotherapy is a big part of what Dana and I do. I think it's one of my favorite things is helping women identify the root of their fear of speaking and reprogram that subconscious to feel safe in expressing themselves. Strengthening the self-worth and aligning that voice, the fear of being seen. And I know Dana also uses a lot of imagery and metaphors, but we use a lot of that to let people know that their voice matters, even when it's not perfect, that they can take up space with love and power. They can trust themselves to speak clearly, boldly, and bravely. I mean, there's so many ways that we can work with you in hypnotherapy to help you reclaim your voice and get to the root of the cause where you don't even think twice. Have you ever witnessed a woman that you admired so much because she so simply just spoke her mind? I think that's a beautiful quality in women and one that more of us should cultivate and develop and feel comfortable with. We should be comfortable
Absolutely.
speaking up.
I mean, wouldn't it be great? Just imagine walking into a room and everyone turns to look at you. There's no judgment, only in recognition. And, so you walk to the center and you say what you need to say. You say it loud, you say it proud, and no one interrupts and no one laughs. Your voice is steady because this is your stage, and it always
Yes.
has been your stage. This is always how it's been. If you say things and you mean what you're saying, and what you're saying is, important and needs to be heard, and people will listen, they will. But if you have that mindset that what I say isn't important, then other people are going to feel that energy that you're giving out. It's all in how you view yourself. So really what it is more self-worth. And I know that that self-worth wasn't put on you by yourself, but it's only you that can correct it now, that can bring out the positive and who you are.
So much of what silences us doesn't live in the logical mind. It lives beneath it in that subconscious and in the body. And that's why just telling yourself to be confident often doesn't work. And so digging deep down, allowing yourself to feel safe and reclaiming that voice is so important. Removing those things like, if I speak, I'll be attacked. If I say no, they'll leave me. We have to reframe those things, get to the root of them. And just like Dana says, how amazing would it feel to walk in a room, people turn their heads, and they listen when you speak? Often our fears are so much greater than what reality is. We can create them and they feel really big. But then in reality, yeah, there may be a few people whispering over in the corner, but we don't have to care what they say. We can know that what we say is important and that if it helps one person, if it reaches one person, or even if it's just for ourselves, we are valid in what we have to say, that we are safe to speak our truth, and that our voice is powerful even when it shakes and we're scared.
Yes. Yeah, even when we're scared. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Like we say every time, the more you do anything, the easier it becomes. So just taking that first step, that first no, that first, this is what I need, or this is what I
Yes.
want. You're allowed to want things. So say it.
So we right, and just say it. I mean, you can ask yourself, what is something you've been holding back that wants to be said? Who do you want to say it to? Because sometimes it's very hard, even in friendships. We feel like we don't want to hurt the other person's feelings. We don't want to make them feel bad. And it could even be something we want to say about an action that they've taken, but we feel as if we can't speak up. So, what is something you've been holding back that wants to be said? And where in your life do you feel that you're shrinking? And what would it feel like to expand, to not shrink yourself down into something that's so small so that nobody noticed? Even one sentence, just one sentence, your inner voice has been trying to say, but you keep silencing. Just one small sentence. You can start in the simplest ways, and it builds. It will build for you to where you're comfortable and it's natural to use your voice.
And it's like Holly said, it's empowering. Once you start doing it, I know I did, and I feel great. That and setting your boundaries and all the things that we've talked about, and more to talk about in the future. But it's just an empowering thing. And to feel like you own your own base, you own your own voice, you own your own body, and you have wants, you have needs. And if, I mean, of course, needs come first, but when you want something, if you don't say it, you won't get it.
Exactly.
You want that raise, but you're not going to talk to your boss about it because you're afraid that maybe you might not be worthy of the raise. But really, you probably are. You probably deserved it 3 years ago, 5 years ago,
Right?
and you're still hanging on, biting your tongue, and that blood doesn't taste good. Stop biting the tongue, go talk to the boss, or whatever it might be. If you don't
I
ask,
know
you
I
don't
can,
get.
right. If you don't ask for it, you will never have it. I can say from my own personal experiences, I've spent a lifetime of choking on my words and being quiet. I was taught from a very young age, we don't tell people things that happen outside of this house. We don't tell people anything. You can't trust anyone. Just be silent. So for most of my life, I was very silent. And it's been in the recent years that I've started speaking my truth. I've started saying what I want to say, how I want to say it, and when I want to say it. And while some things are hard to say, once they're out of your mouth, you have released so much from inside of you. It's very empowering, and it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like you can breathe again when you allow the words, instead of biting your tongue and sitting there wanting to say something and not doing it. So I
Exactly.
know the difficulty, and it's not easy, but it's doable. We can do things that we think we can't.
We can do amazing things. And it's, oh, I had something. The more you bite your tongue, another thing. The more that you don't say something, maybe something's offending you that somebody does. You don't say, you just endure. You just endure and you bite your tongue because I'm probably overreacting. I'm probably just overreacting. This isn't a thing. Just and then they keep doing it. Every time they do it, it gets under your skin a little more, a little more, a little more, and it digs a little deeper each time. And finally, when you let that go, you're really gonna let go of however long you let that go on. And maybe you might overreact at the end, but if you just say it in the beginning, say, "Hey, Holly, I don't like it when you poke me in the shoulder like that every time you talk to me," and it kind of hurts, you know. Then
Right.
she's not gonna poke me next time. But if I don't say it, then I'm literally going to have a hole drilled into my shoulder that I'm just allowing to happen because I'm just not going to say anything because I'm just probably being ridiculous. And Holly really likes poking me in the shoulder, right? Like,
Right. No, but that breeds resentment, and it sets us up for you to become very angry about it instead of just saying, "Hey, don't do that. I don't
exactly.
like that." And if I'm your friend, I'm going to be like, "Oh, okay, no problem." I'm not going to be like, "That Dana, look at
I'm
how
still going
she
to poke
is.
her.
I'm still going to poke her." Right. No, that wouldn't be being a friend. That would not be being someone who values your friend's opinion.
It's important. It's important to speak up. I would want Holly to tell me, or any of my friends to tell me if I was doing something, and or if they wanted something, and I could give it to them.
Right.
You know?
Right. When we hold the words in, they hold power over us,
Right.
and they can cause a lot of damage within us. But when we release those words and allow them to be free and speak them, they no longer hold power over us. It's
Right.
done, it's said, it's over.
And it's just beautiful. Just
It
beautiful.
really is. It really is. So, if today's episode stirred something in you, and if you felt seen, heard, or even cracked open just a little bit, we invite you to keep that, not to keep this to yourself.
So share this episode with someone who needs the reminder that their voice is sacred, and leave a comment or a review to let us know that what landed for you. And so like it, save it, tag a friend, because you never know who might need this message today.
And if you're ready to go deeper, we've got a free meditation that happens 7 days a week. Drop in and join us one day or as many as you like. And we're going to be focusing on allowing your voice to take up space in line with this episode. It's short, it's powerful, and it's designed to help you reconnect with your voice in just a few minutes. Now, you can find the link in the comments or on our Facebook page.
And if you're craving sacred space to rise, soar, and conquer, why don't you come and reclaim your voice alongside other powerful women Join us this October for our very first ever She Reigns Now retreat. It's limited space, so if you'd like to embrace this empowering movement of sisterhood, just message us for details. We're taking early registrations now. And it's not just a weekend getaway, it's a portal, a reclamation, a wild, beautiful remembering of who you really are.
We're creating a space where women can come home to themselves, where we don't just whisper, where we don't just, all right, let me start that over. Where we don't just whisper, we embody who we are choosing to become. Where we don't just talk about the fire, we become the fire. And Dana and I are so excited about this retreat and hope that you'll join us.
And you belong in that circle. We see you, we honor you, and we can't wait to rise together.
And that's all that we have for today. So until next time, rise, soar, and conquer. And tune in next week for another episode. And until then, check us out. Leave us some comments. Let us know if there's been a point where you couldn't speak up and speak out, or if there's a moment in your life that that switch flipped and that script turned around and you did speak up. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.